A few months ago, I put out a poll of what you guys wanted more of on this channel, and I got several requests for specific examples of how this plays out so that you can start to identify these characteristics and qualities. And while I go into that in depth in my programs, I think having scenarios can be really empowering, because once you can start to see these play out, you take that information and you can start applying it to your dating life. And I'm always wanting to help you guys move forward in your own dating life. So today, what I have broken down is 5 dating specific scenarios where the wounded version of feminine energy will show up. And once you have an idea of what's happening, we're going to go through what you can do about it and some specific scenarios that you can walk through so that you can know if this is someone who is worth sticking around to and was having a bad day, or if it's someone that you need to let go of and go find someone else. If you're new to my work, my name is Courtney Shand. I'm a relationship coach, and I really love helping men embody more of their own masculine energy so that they can show up in a calm, confident, centered way and really lead the connection that they are looking for to be something long-term and passionate and really fulfilling for both people. All right, without further ado, let's dive in. There's a few things that you need to understand about feminine energy, and if you haven't watched the video about polarity versus intimacy, go back and watch that one now. Because when I'm talking about feminine energy, I teach polarity, which is kind of this idea of contrast that's required to create chemistry from the lens of masculine and feminine energy. That being said, you need to understand before we dive in that all of us have both masculine and feminine energy. It's kind of that yin and yang experience. And so even though I am working with mostly men now, I coached women for a long time to embody some of their own masculine energy so that they can bring more of an empowering, healthy feminine energy forward. The same thing is true in reverse that I work on with my masculine clients, is really integrating some of that healthy feminine energy so that you can really show up in a more masculine, embodied, integrous way. So that being said, as I'm going through some of these scenarios, you may have found yourself across from someone like this. You may have found yourself embodying some of these characteristics yourself. And the point is not to judge. It's really more to create a little bit of awareness around it so that you can know moving forward how you want to navigate those situations next time. All right, now let's dive in. So this first scenario that I came up with, and there's 5, is that you had a really great date. The conversation was nice. It was a really pleasant experience. And yet after the date, she kind of pulls away a little bit. She hasn't overtly said no. She's still responding, and you're left feeling really confused. Some of my clients would have a tendency to reach out, chase, pursue even harder, convince her, and that's really not going to be the dynamic that you're wanting to create. If you're here, you're looking for a more empowering way to move through the dating landscape, and I've got you. So let's break this down. The wounded feminine expression here, the wound to the feminine that's happening in this scenario is that oftentimes there is a fear of intimacy, or really a fear of abandonment or rejection or betrayal. There's some flavor of that that's happening that will cause us to hold back our emotional expression. That wounded feminine expression is kind of like driving with the brake on as well. You're not actually making a ton of progress. It doesn't feel great to be on either side of that. So I wanted to share that may be what's happening, is that she might be kind of reserving her emotions in an effort to prevent being rejected or abandoned or betrayed or whatever her specific wound is. But this can really play out a lot in these early stages of dating, and I realize it can be really frustrating. But when you can understand what's happening, it gives you the ability to really ground yourself, really root your own masculine energy down. I have a whole program on how to do that if you're looking for some step-by-step examples. But this keeps you from chasing and panicking, and you can really center yourself knowing that she can take some space if she needs that, and that you're still going to be here holding your sense of self-worth and security. From that grounded masculine energy, you could even say something like, I really enjoyed our time together. I really liked getting to know you, and it's okay if you need some space. I'm here if you're still interested. This is actually a really empowered masculine move because it's showing that you are going to stay grounded in your own energy and lead from there. If this is a woman who was having a momentary wobbly experience, because that can happen too, and we always want to save some room for there to be humanness, you'll be able to spot that quickly, because when you lead like this, it will allow her nervous system to relax. If she is able to come back into a healthy feminine energy space, her nervous system's going to relax and she will naturally start to come back towards you if she's interested. And if not, that's the answer that you need either way. So this is really a win-win scenario by being clear about your experience and offering for her to join you. That's always what the masculine is going to be doing, is creating clarity. So the masculine is all about clarity, and that's all that you've done, is created a little bit of clarity about, I really enjoyed this, I would like to do this again, invite her back, and if not, that's your answer. The second scenario is that she's starting to test your boundaries. This can show up as passive aggressiveness, being late on purpose, testing your limits, kind of just to poke you and see how you respond, or if you react rather. And this can often come from a state of feeling like there is no agency or power. This is often a sign of wounded feminine behavior. Someone who's operating in the wounded feminine energy often has a sense of powerlessness or learned helplessness, where they feel like there is agency that's outside of them. They often will show up as passive aggressive because they don't feel like they could just ask for what they need or be direct in those ways. And this is kind of a learned pattern from probably early in childhood, but it shows up because our emotions don't come out cleanly either. So that's often what's happening when this is the case. And when you can see it that way of, okay, this person's operating in a wounded feminine energy, it keeps you from reacting and you can step into more of that leadership energy. This will allow you to respond with calm, clear boundaries. You can reinforce the boundary, and that can sound like, hey, I'm happy to reschedule if you're running late, and I value my time. Is that something that works for you? Because what you're actually doing is giving her some clarity to work within. If this is someone who's just having a day and maybe she's working on her time management skills, everyone's on a continuum of that. As we know, with adulting, everyone's working on time management skills. We're all learning how to be more efficient adults. But if this is someone who is just having a moment, your ability to step in and really lead and contain and keep the boundaries set is going to cause her to respect you more. And if not, you're going to respect yourself more for not having crossed your own boundaries. All right, scenario number 3 is that she is very emotionally vulnerable. Some people would call this oversharing. I like to think of it as sharing beyond what the connection can hold. And that can look very specifically like telling you about what she's been working through in therapy on the second date, or they call it trauma dumping. I don't know if you're familiar with that term, but basically like bringing up really deep emotional wounds to an almost new person. And what's happening here is that they are wanting to create a connection. Brene Brown talks about hot wiring connection. I love that terminology because it really is trying to spark this sense of connection without actual intimacy. Intimacy is built when we test, trust. We are working on establishing the boundaries and the containment that can hold the depth of emotion that we're going to share. So if the emotion feels really intense in those first couple of dates, it's probably a sign that she hasn't necessarily worked on her own sense of containment. And this is something, again, that men and women are both learning how to do. So we want to give a little bit of grace there. But we also want to hold the boundaries with some compassion, because when we are in that scenario, it's very human nature to want to step in and lend a hand. And for a lot of my clients, they have a recovering nice guy part of them that would love to step in and can hold that emotional depth. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it's yours to hold. At this moment in time, you don't have that level of connection that makes you responsible for holding any of that information. This doesn't mean that you want to just throw it back in her face or shame her for it or run away. But when you can have a little bit of compassion, it keeps you out of that codependent dynamic where now she's overly relying on you for her source of emotional containment. So what you can do is, again, not shame her. You can just share what the pace is that feels healthy for you, what you're willing to keep. This is, again, you reasserting your masculine energy and holding the boundary, containing the space, and really creating the tone of emotional safety. For an empowered feminine woman, an emotionally mature feminine woman, she's going to really respect and admire that you have the emotional intelligence to say, hey, this is more than I can hold at this moment in time. Even if she were coming from a really grounded place in sharing it, someone who is grounded and able to hold their emotions is wanting to be honoring of another person's boundaries. And if you simply say, hey, this is more than I can hold in this moment, someone who is able to honor boundaries. Again, a really green flag behavior is grounding her own emotions in those moments, is going to respect the fact that you know your limits and is going to want to work with you on that. And that can sound like, I really appreciate how open and expressive you are, and let's take our time to get to know each other. Again, this doesn't have to be something that is really shaming or condemning. It can just be reasserting that, hey, this is what I am available for. This next scenario I hear a lot in the comments and from my one-on-one clients, and there is some nuance involved because everyone's scenario is a little bit different, but I want to talk high level here and some ways that you can start to move this one in a different direction. So if you're noticing that you are giving a lot and it's starting to feel draining for you, maybe she's really sweet and supportive and warm, but there's not a lot of reciprocation energy happening. Either she is not reaching out to you, you're always the one reaching out, you're always the one that is moving the connection forward, or she's never offering to contribute financially, and you've been dating for like a month at this point. Everyone has their own lines. That's why I want to tread lightly here, because there is an element to the feminine where being receptive is something that a lot of women are practicing. There is some wounded feminine teaching out there that is helping women lean more into their feminine energy. But what I find in my own exploration and embodiment journey is that there's a lot of teaching out there that is actually encouraging the receptivity without also teaching that the energetic piece is needing to be returned. So it's not that as the masculine, you mind contributing financially or paying for the date, which is a whole other conversation we had in the podcast. You can go check those out too. But there is an energetic exchange in that where appreciation, warmth, receptivity, all of the emotion gets exchanged. I don't want to make this a tit for tat conversation. So I want to just steer you out of this. What you can do is recognize that there is an imbalance. When you're noticing that this is a pattern that's happened 2, 3, 4 times, before that 4th time, I want you to recognize that this is a pattern and just acknowledge that this person's operating from a more wounded feminine energy. This is a really great opportunity for you to lead a conversation a little bit deeper. And it can sound like, hey, I'm a pretty intentional person and I'm looking for someone that's just as intentional as I am. I want to build a relationship where we're both getting what we need. And I'm curious how you see us co-creating a relationship like that. Toss the ball back to her. This may be something that she's either not aware of or hasn't given a lot of thought to, or is something that she has been working on receiving and is needing to know what you're wanting in return. It might be a miss in that way, and having a conversation like this is going to clean that up really quickly. So if she can step up and meet you in that way, amazing. You've probably just met eye to eye and it's going to feel a lot better for both of you. And if she's not, then you get to compassionately let her go. All right, this last one is going to take a little bit of nuance too, but I want to walk you through this as well because this is a really common one that I'm seeing from my one-on-one clients specifically. So let's say that you meet a woman who is just magnetic. She is successful and well-spoken and is warm, and you have great conversations with her. She's successful in her own right. And sometimes it can feel a little bit intense because she's so in her body and is able to be sensual, and everything is just an experience for her. The wounded feminine expression often shows up in this specific example when you may start feeling like, what if she doesn't need me? How can I contribute beyond what she's already doing? This is a sneaky way that wounded feminine energy can show up in my masculine clients, because there's often a belief underneath that being needed equals love or value. And this is going to be really confronting, but this is how you're going to feel more secure and more masculine around her, is by starting to confront that story. And when you can understand that, you can also understand that she's not looking for you to shrink. She's looking for someone who can hold all of this with her. She is wanting to really feel you step into your masculine energy and meet her on that level. And this is going to look like you staying grounded. She doesn't need you to shrink or perform or peacock to impress her. She's wanting to see how grounded you can stay and how much of her is welcome in your presence. When you can learn how to lead like that, this type of woman is going to make a really powerful partner for you. If you found yourself in that scenario, here's one that you can try on for size next time. You could say something like, wow, I love that you're so passionate about your work, your hobby, your fitness, whatever it is that she's talking about. You could give her a non-physical compliment about a characteristic that reveals about her. And then you can bring your power to the table too. You can say, I'm building something that I really get charged up by as well. You're not looking to compete with her. She doesn't want a partner who's going to compete with her. She wants someone that is able to build alongside her, just like you do. This isn't about making it about you. This is really about you practicing being able to see her in her fullness and be in awe, while disciplining yourself to stay present enough that you don't have to shrink or compete with that much energy. When you can start to practice that, really grounding your nervous system to be with someone else in their fullness like that, you're going to start attracting more women who are able to create the type of relationship dynamic that you're really looking for. This isn't about a power play. Most of my one-on-one clients are looking for strong, powerful partners that are able to build something that lasts for a long time. And that does require a certain amount of personal power, agency, and passion. And if you're wanting to create a connection like that, her revealing that to you, especially early on, is a great opportunity for you to step into more of your leadership energy and guide the connection in that direction. So now you have 5 scenarios, dating specific, of how the wounded feminine energy can start to show up so that you can start to spot it and respond in a way that is not only healthy and centered for you, but also starts to create a different experience for you in the dating landscape. If you want some additional support on this, obviously everyone's scenario is a little bit different, so feel free to reach out for one-on-one support. Or if you're looking for more context like this, check out the dating codes. I have some specific scenarios that we go through and kind of shift your perspective so that you're approaching them from the most empowered lens. If you want to really understand how energetic dynamics play out, you can check out Rooted, my course. It's foundational in masculine and feminine energy, as well as a step-by-step scenario of how you can start to shift into more of that empowered masculine energy as you naturally show up in the dating space that way. If you want the homework for this, feel free to check the link below. Otherwise, I'll see you guys next week.